For the past year, I've been sharing sketchbook ideas with you, so that means I've filled a couple of sketchbooks, but all of the covers still look like this. So today I thought I would share ideas on how you can customize your sketchbook covers. Let's get creative.
Here's my first sketchbook, and I'm going to put a piece of paper behind the cover to protect the artwork I've already created. And I'm going to start by giving the whole thing a black background. I just poured the acrylic paint directly onto the cover and spread it with a brush. Now I have this nice, beautiful, sleek black background. Oh, I'm so glad I'm doing this. Just seeing the book like this already makes me happy. Once the paint dried, I used a white acrylic marker to draw lines coming out from the same point in the book. Doesn't need to be the center, it can be wherever you like. By the way, I'd like to point out that I'm going to start with the simplest idea for customizing the sketchbooks and then make them a little bit more complicated as we move forward. Once I had my starburst, I filled every other space with more white parallel lines, just echoing what I first drew. And you can see I'm not being precise at all, I'm just drawing and relaxing. Now for some easy fun. Since I'm finally offering stickers in my shop, I'm going to use one of them to decorate my cover. I chose the cute Scorpio bear because that is my star sign. I placed it right on top of that center we created, and because I had lotion on my hands, I soiled it a little bit, but because it's made of thick vinyl, I just swiped it clean. With the sticker in place, I'm going to use colors from it to add to my so far black and white composition. I chose red first and started drawing tiny hearts filling the areas of the cover that were still black. And because I used gold on the original clay bear that inspired this sticker, I chose gold next. I use gold to add clusters of dots all over the black spaces, but also around the sticker, making them smaller as they were further away from it. This idea has a space vibe, but with a twist. It's really just me making space to have fun and be playful. As a finishing detail, I used the white marker to draw tiny starbursts, and because this sketchbook was the first I used to create characters in it, I love the idea of this being the one cover with one of my characters on top. See? Otto the Space Otter, who I love, is in here. And yeah, that's the first simple design. I really think it's such a huge and beautiful upgrade to my cover, and this wasn't hard to make at all. Next cover, and again, acrylic paint right on top, and I used the brush to spread it. This color did need 2 layers to get an even background though. Here, I was really glad I used that protective paper in the back because you can see I did make a little mess that would have ruined my work. Background paint ready, so I used a pencil in the same color to draw some horizontal lines. It's really hard to make out through the screen, but the lines I drew were not completely straight, and I buried the spaces between them. Once I had these random lines filling the cover, I chose 2 colors of acrylic markers that I thought matched the purple I had best. I started to fill the space between 2 of the lines I drew with the first marker, creating a row of small parallel lines that went up to about 2/3 of the width of the cover. And I probably don't need to tell you that this repetitive motion was such a relaxing and enjoyable process. I would do it all over again. Could happily draw lines all day. Then I used the second color to fill the remainder of the space of each row of lines. Once everything was full, I grabbed that favorite gold marker of mine to add some accents. I simply painted on top of some of the lines to create some interest, focusing on the lines where the 2 colors met. I created a random pattern, adding each line where I thought it looked best, but as I was doing this, I thought maybe if someone knows Morse code, this cover could have a secret word on it, making it super interesting. But like I said, mine is just supposed to be pretty, and when I felt it was done, I stopped. I think it's a really elegant design, but you could also make it more playful by just putting a sticker on top of this one as well. Moving on to my third sketchbook of the day, I am again protecting my artwork by placing a piece of paper behind the cover, and again I'm just pouring paint directly on top to then even out with a brush. A couple of coats later, we have a beautiful background ready to be played with. This time I thought I would go for a monochromatic composition, so I chose 3 markers accordingly. The idea here is to create a foliage frame around the space in the middle, so I started by drawing some leaves with the darkest color, going all around the border, leaving plenty of space between each branch. After I was done using that first color, I grabbed the middle tone and again drew more leaves and branches. But I'm not only changing the color, but also the type of doodle I'm drawing. Also, with the second color, I am allowing the leaves to overlap. And I noticed on the third branch I drew that I got a better result when I started by drawing the leaves first. I made little clusters of dots and then connected them with lines. The branches look nicer for me doing it this way. I left the lightest color for last, and again I changed the type of branch I was doodling. This color was the one I overlapped the most, but I still drew most of the branches in the blank spaces I had around the edge so that the foliage looked deeper. You could leave it at that, but I chose to write the word share on top because that's what I do with these books. I share my ideas with the hope of inspiring you and making art feel more approachable and fun. This is the result for this notebook, and again, you could also bring a little whimsy to the cover by placing a sticker on top. I think this next idea is the most complicated of the bunch, and it first required for me to cover my entire sketchbook with white. After 3 layers of white acrylic paint, you could still see the original design coming through. It probably would have been perfect with the fourth layer, but I just wanted to jump into the fun part, so I decided that would do. The design I'm doing is heavily inspired by this Yayoi Kusama painting that Pinterest showed me. I love it. For some reason, it just makes me happy. Of course, I had seen Yayoi's work before, but only the dots, the immersive rooms, and the pumpkins, so this surprised me in a good way. I love it. I was fascinated by this piece, so I thought I would do my version of it, and to start, I added some black circles randomly on the page. Then, I started to go around them creating petals with different colors. I am sticking to the more naive type of flower that Yayoi used in her work, keeping the flat colors and simple shapes and completely disregarding the more realistic flowers. I happily surrounded the circles with colorful petals or just a larger, brightly colored circle. I also started to layer more elements by adding more flowers behind. And of course, because of its opacity, acrylic is the perfect medium for this. And I think acrylic markers are even better because they mean you don't have to mix the right color of paint to fix mistakes and polish things as you layer elements. Inspired by Yayoi's work, I also wanted to add those little circles in the background, which is something I think I would have not done on my own. I kept drawing simple flowers, and again here the acrylic markers are working wonderfully, as I decided to change a color that I thought was going to look nice, but I didn't like once it was on my piece. On most of the elements, the colors are not solid and opaque enough on the first pass, but this was okay for me as I worked out the composition and decided what should be on the foreground. As I worked, I just switched markers to add more paint on the areas that needed it. This was actually an incredibly fun process because it honestly was just like playing. Anything goes when you're drawing fantasy florals, and the fact that I could add elements anywhere and play with scale and color really freed my process. For example, here I tried this pink background with negative random dots, and when I first finished, I didn't like it. But I fixed it later by layering up color and adding details. The more I layered, the more it started to make sense. And truly where I really feel this idea comes together and shines is on the final layer where I added all the black and white details. I think that really took it from flat flowers to something that's very cohesive and beautiful. This is my result, and it happens to be the sketchbook I am currently working through. Because it does have a page featuring my beloved Yolki on it, I thought I would take the cover further and place Yolki's sticker on top to make it easier for me to remember what's inside this book. I know this cover is already very busy and extra, but because the colors match, I do like having my sticker there a lot. If you don't know about Yolki, I'll link the videos about him on the description. I just love that to me, he's super optimistic and always finds the brighter side of things. That's the last cover I'm doing today. I hope you enjoyed customizing my beloved sketchbooks with me. And don't forget, now I have stickers in my shop. Some are limited designs that I'll keep changing with every shop update, but you'll always be able to find some cute channel staples to take home. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have the most beautiful and inspired day. See you next time. Bye!